It's 4:45 a.m. in the morning and I just cannot sleep. I got fish on my mind and I just could not sleep anymore. I got to get at it. So I was looking through all my messages and questions from people, and I realized that I've been putting off questions on glowfish for a long, long time. And I think it's because I get super sick of all the drama that coincides with glowfish. It's just a misunderstood topic in the industry, and I figured, you know what? Let's just balls up here and just go at this topic because it needs to be touched base on, and I just can't keep not answering people's questions when they send them to me because I personally kind of just mark it off as like a total newbie fish keeper because it's kind of like the huge sales pitch deal that new fish keepers buy. But when you look at it, these might be some of the most important people to help because they're new fish keepers, and they say like 90% of fish keepers drop the hobby completely in under a year. So maybe if I can better educate new fish keepers that have maybe looking into buying glowfish and setting the tanks up, maybe it can better the hobby and I can grab more people and keep them into this hobby. So I guess today's video is going to be about glowfish and some of the misunderstood things that go with taking care of glowfish and how they're made. But more or less, I want to stress the fact of how to properly care for them, because even though it's seen, glowfish are seen as inhumane because they're man-made, and people just look down on it and go, oh, you shouldn't buy those, they're man-made, what are you thinking? But the truth is, they're making them and they're not going to stop making them. So if we can just properly care for them, I believe that is the best road moving forward. Let's take a look at some glowfish tanks. I want to give a huge shout out to the people that let me use their beautiful footage of their glowfish tanks. I will admit they are stunning tanks, and with when they're properly set up, they make for stellar setups. So let's just dive right into this. All right, first things first, I want to talk about how glowfish are made, because this is probably the most misconstrued thing in the entire industry. And a lot of people are thinking that these fish are individually injected with dyes with a needle, and that is not the case. That is happening with other fish like blood parrots and such in some countries, but it is not happening with glowfish. What's happening here is this is actually just a recessive gene of the fish that was like mutated by scientists. And a lot of people think that when glowfish breed, you don't actually get offspring that have the same coloration as glowfish, but that's completely wrong. You do. This does happen. So people, this is not the worst thing in the world. This is just a genetically mutated fish, or genetically created fish, essentially like a flower horn or any of the hybrids in the industry. And yes, they are looked down upon, but it's not that big of a deal. What is a big deal, though, is because this is almost a weaker gene sometimes. I like to compare it to the electric blue Jack Dempseys. They're having tons of issues with these fish dying because it's like a recessive gene, almost like it's like a weaker gene and they're just not as strong. So that also coincides with the fact that most of glowfish sold are actually the tetras. And if you know anything about tetras, buying them from big box stores, they're not hardy to begin with. So that is working against you. So you are buying a tetra that is not that hardy from a big box store, and secondly, it also happens to be a genetically created fish that is a tetra. So you have two things working against you, and that's why so many of these fish are dying. But that's not to be said that all these fish are going to die and they're all weak. That is not the case whatsoever. As you can see in these videos, these fish are thriving, and that is completely possible. So let's just move past all that drama, and let's just talk about actually taking proper care of these fish now. Okay, so let's talk about tank setup. A lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm going to go with a tank size minimum of 30 gallons. And the reason for this is because even though these are glowfish, they are actually different species of fish, just with the gene that has the glow in it. Like, for instance, the Tetra is the most common glowfish sold, but there's also the tiger barb and the Daniel, and they're on their way to making a lot more fish, like the angelfish and etc. So you actually need to look at each specific species aside to figure out their actual care guide in itself. So a 30-gallon minimum. I know a lot of you guys are gonna hate me because you have already bought probably a kit that is like a 5 or a 10-gallon tank that is designed to be sold in these mainstream big fish stores. But I'm going to go against that because these fish need more room. Tetras are, they want to be in a bigger school of fish. So don't buy just like 2 or 3 of them. Buy like 6 of them. And that's where the 30 gallons gives them a little room to move around. You could probably get away with a 20-gallon. I would be happy with that. But as far as taking care of them, these are just your generic community tropical fish like I talk about in all my other videos. So just get them a generic tropical community fish food. I advise omega-1 flakes. A lot of people give me a hard time because I'm always advising omega-1. There are other great brands like New Life Spectrum. I just believe in spending a couple extra dollars and getting a quality brand, whereas some of the cheaper ones, it's only a couple extra dollars, guys, and you are what you eat. I'm a big believer in taking proper care of your pets. Like I buy the little more expensive dog food, and it goes a long way. So tank size, food, get yourself a filter. If you're looking for a decent filter, I would advise getting an Aqua Clear series filter. There's the 40, the 70, the 110. That's been the best hang on the back filter on the market for years and years. Guys, I'll throw links in the description box to these products. I talked about the food, the omega-1, the filter. Lighting isn't a huge deal. I know that they sell specific glowfish lights, which is basically just a black light with the glowfish marking on it. This whole glowfish series trademark deal is basically just one giant sales pitch. I don't want to piss anyone off, but it's just the complete truth. And the whole glowfish is actually trademarked, which is crazy. And I actually have made some glowfish videos in the past that were copyright infringed, so I'm hoping this doesn't happen with this video. But it gets really weird with the whole air quotes glowfish because it's a weird deal. I think it's owned by Tetra, but it's kind of a sales pitch, I think, geared towards new fish keepers, which is kind of sad. But I'm hoping that this video will help the hobby a bit and just properly educate everyone on taking care of these fish. They're super easy to care for. I should also advise that you're probably gonna have a percentage of them just die on you. I would say if you're gonna buy 10 glowfish from a big box store, you're probably at least going to have 30% of them die on you just by getting them home, putting them in a new tank. It's really common for these fish to get ick because they get insecure. And the reason is because tetras are super not non-sturdy fish to begin with. And when it goes to be said, tetras aren't tough to begin with, and they will die out on people. And you now have the glowfish recessive gene in them, so it's even working against you. So you have two things working against you essentially. But if you just play the numbers, it really sucks to say, but it's the bitter truth of the industry, and there is some hope. So if you can at least give some glowfish some good homes to live in. If you have any questions, hit up the comments below. I will be happy to, I try to reply to every comment. If you guys have other videos you want me to post and talk about, just also comment, or you can add me on Facebook. I'm just worked up, guys. This is kind of a sketchy topic to talk about.
There's tons of drama constantly around this topic. If you get in the Facebook groups, a lot of times the threads will have like hundreds and hundreds of comments of people just saying, hey, you shouldn't have bought these fish. They're all going to die. They're injected with dyes. You're stupid, blah, blah, blah. It's actually not the case, but there is going to be, I would advise that just be ready. There is going to be a percentage of fish that die because it's just that recessive gene like I talk about. I won't even call it a recessive gene, but that's what I'm calling it in this video, just to make it easier for me. It's actually, when you dig deep into the science of it, scientists actually stole a gene from a jellyfish and somehow adapted it into these fish. It's a crazy science I don't even completely understand. I've done tons of research on it, but that's just how it is. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. If you have any input or you think I'm a complete idiot, let me know in the comments. If you can help others in this hobby, we are all fighting this battle together. So yeah. Woo!